Yesterday was a very important day for Paper Mario fans, and for Mario fans in general, because Nintendo did the impossible. They did something that most people thought they would never do. They announced a remake of Thousand Year Door. I've always had hope for a Thousand Year Door re-release. I thought it was gonna be a simple port, because that's what I thought after like the rumors and everything, and the fact that they basically ported Metroid Prime like on there with Metroid Prime Remastered, and then Pikmin 1 and 2, and then looking back a little even farther, 3D All-Stars with Mario Sunshine and Mario Galaxy. So I thought with most GameCube, and I guess kind of some Wii games too, they were just gonna do ports. Like just simple ports or emulated versions of these games. But with Thousand Year Door, they actually went all out. They actually did a full-on remake, which is seemingly being made in the Color Splash and Origami King engine, at least in terms of lighting, which is absolutely amazing. It's something that I would really only dream about. And to put it into perspective, how unlikely this was, I thought it was still unlikely that we were gonna get a simple port of the game as well. And then, like, the Paper Mario series over the past decade has been in a very weird state. Like, the development team really seemed to be, like, held back, and mostly was doing something completely different. Even since Super Paper Mario, despite the fact that I love Super Paper Mario, it was different from the original style, and it really seemed like, since Sticker Star especially, they weren't really gonna go back to that style. It seemed extremely unlikely. So the fact that they are actually re-releasing Thousand Year Door as a full remake developed by the modern Paper Mario devs, which presumably is the case because it did say that this game is being developed by Intelligent Systems. So this outcome is extremely, monumentally unlikely, but it actually happened. It actually happened. Despite all of these restrictions, despite all of the gameplay issues, despite all of the character design debates, the white outline debates, the paper aesthetic debates, all of the debates and discourse, toxicity in the Paper Mario series, after all of that, we finally got a full return to form for the franchise. Even though it is a remake, this remake is going all out. And in a lot of ways, it seems like they really are listening and caring about the fans when they're considering what to put in this remake and different things. Because even the fact that they are going with the original style, they're not even doing like the full like Origami King sprite style. They're actually doing the rigged animations. They don't have the white outlines, which I know the white outlines are kind of another debate. I'm personally kind of indifferent to the white outlines, but the fact that they didn't do it was kind of surprising. And yeah, just in general, this remake just felt so impossible. Like, just the way it turned out. Like, it was really exactly what most people were expecting. Like, with classic fans, classic Paper Mario fans were expecting a remake that was faithful to the original, not really expecting it, but more, like, since most people thought that was extremely unlikely, but most classic fans were wanting a remake of Thousand Year Door to be faithful like it is, and actually retaining, like, the rigged animations and the kind of storybook pop-up style, which is what it's kind of doing. And then other people kind of wanted a Thousand Year Door remake to also include the papercraft aesthetic, which was kind of controversial prior to this remake, and I'll get into why it's not so controversial now, but a lot of people have been wanting that. I've been kind of wanting both. I was kind of wanting the Thousand Year Door remake to kind of have, like, both elements of, like, both the modern art style that kind of make it fit in a little more with, like, the HD Paper Mario games and everything, as well as keeping the general storybook style, because that's part of what I love about the visuals of the original game. But when this remake did exactly what I was hoping for. Not even, like, deviating from that idea just a little bit. It's exactly what I was hoping for. Because it does have the papercraft aesthetic. It does kind of have that paper theming a little bit. But it also has the same charm that the classic games had, with their rigged animations, like with the sprites that are kind of basically segmented into different pieces so they can move more fluidly, basically. Because the 64 in the modern games are made up of, like, separate sprites that the characters have and everything. Like, with a lot of, like, kind of how a lot of sprite-based games would work. But with Thousand Year Door, Super Paper Mario, and even Sticker Star, they actually had, like, models that were made up of a bunch of different sprites to create each of the characters. So it's really cool that we actually have that now. And it's so surprising that they actually went with that style. Because a lot of people have been wanting that style, like, including both people who liked the papercraft style and those who were more critical of it. So this is really the perfect middle ground. I feel like it's something that really anyone can enjoy. Like, including both the people who like the papercraft aesthetic, as well as the people who like the original style. And especially enjoyable for me, because I kind of like aspects of both styles. I did prefer the original Paper Mario style and everything, but I did like elements of the papercraft style, especially in Origami King, and even somewhat in Color Splash. But combining the best elements of both styles really makes it the perfect Paper Mario art style for me. Like, honestly, I love how this game looks. Like, I would say, like, just so far from what we've seen, it's already the best looking Paper Mario game, in my opinion. Like I said, best elements of both styles. And on top of presentation, the music is also amazing as well. Some people were a bit critical of the original soundtrack, despite the fact that it was mostly popular overall. I love the Thousand Year Door soundtrack, even though it is pretty heavy on the synths, and didn't have, like, a ton of variation between, like, the different instruments and everything. I still loved it. I still loved it for the composition alone. But actually hearing more instruments, a more orchestral style similar to Origami King and Color Splash, is absolutely surreal and absolutely incredible to hear. It's just amazing hearing, like, the battle theme kind of sound reminiscent of, like, the Origami King battle theme, but have the same upbeat energy as the Thousand Year Door, like, battle theme and everything. It's just amazing. That just gave me chills listening to that, as well as the main theme. The main theme, like, it uses a lot of those instruments that were in the Origami King main theme, but it's like the Thousand Year Door main theme as well. And it keeps some of the synths as well that made the original soundtrack so unique and everything, but it just adds more instruments to make it feel more unique and everything. So, you know, honestly, this soundtrack might end up tying with Origami King as my favorite video game soundtrack of all time. Because the Thousand Year Door soundtrack was already amazing, but adding in those instruments and just upgrading that soundtrack just makes it so much better. So I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, and another thing that kind of concerns presentation again is the character designs. Yeah, they actually brought back the original classic Paper Mario character designs. Not just the NPCs, the partners, or any of the other major characters in the game. Because I did think, like, regardless of what style they were going to use for the Thousand Year Door remake, but despite all of those jokes that people make about making the Thousand Year Door remake generic and everything, I always thought they were going to keep most of the partners or major characters unique. Because they are, like, that would really not make any sense if they changed characters like Vivian, or even, like, Goombella, or Pennington, and characters like that. It wouldn't make any sense to the story if they changed them. I mean, I guess, like, kind of expecting, like, how the modern Paper Mario team would handle it, you'd expect them to change things, like, different Goomba NPCs or Koopa NPCs and things, but no, they didn't change any of the original designs here. And on top of that, they actually use, like, the classic Paper Mario species designs or enemy designs between the characters. Like, they don't use any of the modern designs there. Don't get me wrong, I don't think the modern designs between Sticker Star and Origami King were bad. I mean, yeah, there were a few of them that I genuinely didn't like the Goombas, the Koopas, and then a few others as well. But just in general, it wasn't too bad. I didn't think it was that big of an issue, and if they did remake this game with those modern designs, I wouldn't have had that much of a problem with it. I still probably would have been extremely excited about this game regardless. But the fact that they actually used the original character designs that they've used between 64 up until Super Paper Mario in the E3 2010 build of Sticker Star just kind of goes to show that the developers actually care. They actually care about Paper Mario, and they care about the fans and everything. And they care about Paper Mario being a distinct and unique series. Like, one of the problems that I had with the modern designs, despite the fact that I didn't really dislike them that much, like, I feel like one of my problems with them is that they kind of made the Paper Mario series feel a bit too generic and a bit too similar to the rest of the Mario franchise, but I really feel like it should be doing something, like, more unique and kind of setting it apart, like the Mario & Luigi series. So, I am just so glad that they're actually keeping it distinct and actually keeping these designs, and it really shows that they actually care here. And also, with the fact that they're keeping the original character designs too, that kind of goes to show that they care as well. But yeah, it's just really cool to see these designs in HD. Like, it actually looks like the original artwork for the game when looking at a lot of these designs in-game, which is something that I've been wanting from a Paper Mario game for a long time. I've been wanting these rigged animations, the characters, like, with their original designs and everything, to be in HD and everything. And then on top of that, another thing that I forgot to mention about these designs, I'm not gonna go with white outlines, because I really don't want to go there with that. But the one big problem that I had with modern Paper Mario sprites was the fact that they used flat colors and no gradients or shading. But they actually are using gradients and shading now, which looks really nice, especially in HD. And I feel like that's another reason why they were, like, how they were kind of listening to fan feedback and everything, since that was something that quite a lot of people have been wanting. I know there were the people that were saying that modern Paper Mario, well, Color Splash and Origami King specifically, had flat colors in darker colors on the sprites because of dynamic lighting. But this remake has dynamic lighting, and I would say the lighting is just as good, maybe even better than it was in Color Splash. And they're actually using the shaded gradient designs for these characters, and it looks better. So much better than the sprites in Color Splash and Origami King. So I don't really think that dynamic lighting was entirely the reason why they had those flat designs for quite a while. But to be absolutely fair with the Color Splash and Origami King designs, I feel like they were kind of, with those designs, they might have been testing how, like, Paper Mario designs could work in HD and with the lighting and everything. So with those games, even though that was 2 full games, they still could have really been testing that engine and testing how Paper Mario looks in HD, because HD is actually a pretty significant jump from, like, Sticker Star and Super Paper Mario and, like, any of the previous games. So, understandably, I can kind of see why they were kind of experimenting with it. It shouldn't have taken this long. Don't get me wrong, it shouldn't have taken, like, 8 years for them to get to this point. But I do appreciate that they did kind of basically learn how to use, like, these more HD Paper Mario engines and everything, and actually utilize more classic designs in here and everything. Because Sticker Star did have, like, the shaded designs and gradients and everything, but they weren't really experimenting with the lighting yet, or the style in HD, so that's probably why they didn't change them yet. So, and that was modern Paper Mario, so I don't really think that flat color design was the permanent decision from Intelligent Systems. I feel like that was temporary, as much as we'd like to think that's what the new direction that they were going in and everything. The papercraft style, yes, that was the direction that they were going in, especially the fact that it uses it here in Thousand Year Door. But it's great to see that they've kind of figured out everything with the designs, or how the gradients and shading works. But yeah, and also on the topic of, like, how this game is responding to fans and everything, it's such a shock to me, like, that this actually ended up working out exactly how we were wanting. Because with Origami King, and, like, Color Splash, the Origami Kings especially, even counting in, like, Sticker Star in general, but Sticker Star was just, I would say that's a unique case, because that's really, that's a whole story on its own. But ever since Color Splash, it really seemed like they were basically ignoring the fans. I mean, like, I know Nintendo really isn't, like, obligated to, like, respond to the fans and everything, because they're a company, they sell products, they don't really have to do that. They're gonna sell anyway. But I appreciate the fact that they are actually looking at the fans and actually using that to make quality products out of it. Like, because it seemed like with Color Splash and Origami King, even though Origami King, I did think it was a good game, but the thing is, it seemed like all of the things they were doing in the game were really just kind of, it almost seemed like they were just throwing that out at the fans. It really didn't seem like they cared. They were just like, oh, we have partners. Oh, they're technically there. Oh, we technically have badges. They're called accessories now. And they ruin your 100% completion of the game. But they're technically badges. They're technically badges. It really just seemed like they were, like, throwing things out there just to kind of have a false sense of hope for people for the series, or just kind of, like, show that they were technically caring. Then Tanabe said, oh, we're looking at all sides of the fan base and everything, even though we're not really truly addressing all of these issues, even though we're holding back on the character designs, even though since Sticker Star we can't use all these original designs, and we can only use characters from the new Super Mario Bros. Games. Yeah, it seemed like they didn't care then. It really only, like, even though they were improving in Origami King, don't get me wrong, they were improving with that game. It did seem like they did want to make a better game, but it just seemed like they weren't really listening to the fans with that. And it seemed like Origami King seemed like, even though they were kind of throwing a bone at the classic fans, it did kind of seem like that was like the farthest point where Intelligent Systems was disconnected from the fans. It really seemed like that, honestly. And yeah, it just seemed really unlikely that they would actually kind of listen to feedback and just actually improve, because it really seemed like Tanabe or some of like the execs and everything wanted Paper Mario to go in this weirder direction, kind of like it really seemed like they were not really, like, they were just kind of doing their own thing, and it seemed like, and honestly kind of seemed at conflict with the devs, because it actually seemed like some of the developers and artists for the game wanted to make something genuinely, like, more, like, closer to the older games, and also more unique when they technically weren't allowed to, because they did squeeze in a few unique things, like Professor Toad, Captain Toad, the Elementals, King Ollie, and Olivia, obviously, the Origami characters in general, but they had to make these original characters, like, 3D to, like, have a loophole from these restrictions and everything. So it was just a weird situation. It seemed like they were not listening to the fans. It seemed like they were kind of held back. Like, a lot of the devs, it kind of seemed like they were held back in that conflict with something that they actually wanted to do. The Paper Mario series, even though it seemed like it was kind of returning back, and it was kind of returning baby steps back to the original style, it really seemed like we were pretty far from what we were expecting. I was holding out hope for the last few years that they would maybe have some element of, like, the classic games, and maybe they would make a game that was a little more like Thousand Year Door and 64. Maybe they'd squeeze in a few things, maybe. But they actually ended up going all out. They actually ended up completely changing their direction and everything, and actually ended up doing something pretty amazing and pretty true to the roots of the series. And it's great to see that they're actually listening. They're not actually going in a confused route this time. Even though it is a remake, it seemed like they are actually wanting to go back in this direction. It seems like they actually want to do a return to form. It actually seems like they want the Paper Mario series to be an RPG again, and to actually be reminiscent of the first two games and the first three story-wise. But yeah, and just with the fact that they're doing so many things, kind of reverting back to the original style here, like with the character designs, the rigged animations, the battle system, everything like that is intact with the older games, and it even has that modern visual flair. It adds in a lot of great things visually that were in Color Splash and Origami King. Like the poses in the modern games, even Sticker Star to a degree, were great. I really like all of those poses and everything. So actually seeing these TTYD animations with these modern Paper Mario style poses is just absolutely amazing, and it goes to show that they want to evolve that classic style. They want to build upon it and actually make something really good out of it. And it's really great to see, honestly. And I really hope they continue with this. It's just really, really exciting to see that they actually care again and actually want to go back to the roots of this series. So, yeah, I am beyond excited about the Thousand Year Door remake and everything. But yeah, anyways, what are your thoughts on the Thousand Year Door remake? Do you think Paper Mario is going to continue to kind of go back to its roots and continue to be a return the form. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Twitter if you want to. Goodbye.